Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cosmically Curious with your host, Gemini Jess. We're going to go ahead and jump right in because I am actually really looking forward to this week, even though there is a eclipse, the second eclipse of eclipse season happening on Thursday. We have some really supportive grounding energy with us entering into Virgo season, as well as Mercury moving into Virgo. But before we dive into that, just a quick little recap of this past week. It was that space in between the two eclipses where we're still very much in eclipse season, but there's a sense of unknown, I think, that comes a lot with eclipse season. And the interesting thing about this eclipse season is that it's happening within two different archetypal oppositions. So we had the one that was 2 weeks ago in Leo, which is having conversations around the Aquarius-Leo archetypal opposition, which I've talked a lot about over the last few weeks. Now, this eclipse happening on Thursday is happening on the Pisces-Virgo oppositional axis here. So there's kind of two stories that are playing out. One that is just beginning for you that will play out over the next 18 months in regards to Leo Aquarius energy, and wherever Leo and Aquarius is in your chart, that is where this may be playing out more viscerally. Whereas the one that we have this week is actually representing almost the closing out of the last 18 months in terms of Virgoan, Piscean energetics. Wherever that is in your chart, that area of your life has been getting a little bit of a shift. And I'll talk about that eclipse more specifically here, but I wanted to give that background that we are beginning some new stories and ideally closing some stories out, coming to a completion point, especially because this eclipse this week is a full moon, which is very much illuminating. Whereas the new moon eclipse in Leo from 2 weeks ago, new moon is very much, the moon is dark, we cannot see it. There's something new that is beginning, something that is revealing itself kind of from the depths of our soul in a lot of ways. So that is where we were last week. So getting into the week ahead here, the sun is now officially in Virgo as of Saturday. This past Saturday, it moved into Virgo. So we are officially in Virgo season. Happy birthday to all my Virgos out there. I love it because I actually have a lot of Virgos in my life, which is very interesting because Virgo is an intercepted sign in my Placidus chart. And my mom is a Virgo, my sister is a Virgo, two of my really close friends are, and I think there's also a lot of other Virgos in my life, and there have been throughout the year. So I think it's really funny. I naturally am drawn to and connected to Virgo and energy as a Gemini, which I kind of love. I love Virgos. So the sun is now officially in Virgo, and as the sun moved into Virgo on Saturday, into Sunday yesterday, which is actually today in this moment, but you're watching this on Monday, came into an immediate trine with Chiron and Taurus. And so there's a lot to be said here, because when we think of Virgo, it gets this, stereotype of organization and discernment and criticism and perfectionism, which aren't wrong. But if we take that a step further and we look at to what time Virgo season falls in the year for the Northern Hemisphere, it's right before fall, because Libra season comes after Virgo season, and Libra is a cardinal sign and it represents the fall equinox. But Virgo is kind of that pause moment for us here in the Northern Hemisphere where we really are almost coming out of the summer haze. We have Jupiter in Leo, we had all this Leo energy, and so people were really putting themselves out there this summer. And I think we're starting to come down. I don't know where you all are living, but in Minneapolis specifically, the last week or two, the temperature has cooled down. It's not as humid. It's a little bit cooler. It's a little bit breezy. The colors aren't quite changing yet in the Twin Cities area, but it's kind of that shift. It's that moment before we enter into an actual new season in fall, and it's kind of like we're getting our ducks in a row. It's like, okay, we have this really fun summer, we did a lot of stuff, and what comes next for us? Like, what do we need next to help us transition into fall? Another thing that Virgo does a really good job of is helping us to get clear on what we need to provide for ourselves on a very physical, material level. And what I mean by that is like what our body needs, self-care, what we need so that we can lean into the Jupiter and Leo energy of creative expression and creative actualization. If we are all just ideas, and we don't have any sort of plan to make things happen, we're not going to be able to make things happen. And so Virgo really comes in to support that, which truthfully I think we all need after the last month or so we've had. I feel like it's been a little chaotic. I don't know, it's been good for me, but there's been a lot going on. And before the sun moved into Virgo on Saturday, we had no Earth in the sky. We had all the planets in Leo. We have Mars over there in Cancer fighting for her life. And then we have Venus in Libra, which is ultimately a pretty positive transit for us to be experiencing. But we lacked Earth, and we need to be able to have a balance of the elements to be able to really access these different parts of ourselves. If we are all fire all the time, we are going to get burnt out. We need to have Earth to ground us, to center us, to allow us to slow down as well. I want to highlight that yesterday, Sunday, the sun, right after going into Virgo, came into a trine with Chiron and Taurus. With this trine here to Chiron, it's very supportive of this idea of holistic healing. There are these parts of us that feel very tender, that really lessen our self-worth or our ability to see ourselves clearly. With this trine, with the sun in Virgo here, it's really about coming back into the right relationship with our body, the right relationship with how we take care of ourselves. Mars is in Cancer, so we're also really being driven by some emotional caretaking here for ourselves, ideally. And so we really are switching into this a little bit different energy than we've had the last month or so, I would say, which is very important for this eclipse that's coming up this week. The sun in Virgo can really support the Chiron and Taurus that feels under-resourced by creating routines and habits that allow you to feel more resourced because you're taking care of yourself. I love the word resourced for Taurus energy, and I just think in general the idea of being resourced, and that can look like a lot of different things. It can look like breath work, it can look like working out, it can look like journaling, it can look like screaming in your pillow. It's all of these things that we are able to do to internally resource ourselves, not being resourced by the books on your shelf or the bank account with $10,000 in it. Though those are very important and help our nervous system to feel resourced, there's also a sense of inner resourcing that we have to do that nobody else is responsible for but us. So there's kind of that flavor here that is coming in through Sunday into the first half of the week. And while this is happening, Mercury does two things very quickly on Tuesday. Mercury in Leo at the late degree conjuncts the South Node in Leo, and then it instantly moves into Virgo before the Tuesday is over. As Mercury comes into this conjunction with the Leo South Node, it's once again bringing up all of the themes that I have talked about for the last 2 weeks, month plus, around the Leo energy, the validation, manipulation, the feelings of wanting to be loved, being seen versus unseen, all of that stuff that I've been discussing on these episodes will once again be kind of brought to light here. And there's also a layer here too. When we think about Mercury, we think of perspective and communication, and that brings me to the idea of the stories we tell ourselves and the narratives that we have created around ourselves, around what people think of us, and around our ability to be ourselves in any given moment. So before Mercury moves into Virgo, you have an opportunity here, the first half of the week, to decide whether or not the stories and the narratives that you've created around yourself are something that you want to take forward, because the South Node always represents those pieces of us that have kept us safe, have kept us alive, have kept us comfortable, but can most likely be holding us back. And so it's really a decision that you get to make. So a homework for the week for you could be on Monday or Tuesday night to sit down and think about, and maybe write down 5 stories that you tell yourself about yourself that you believe to be true. Well, now, they're not actually true, right? We need to get that clear, but that you believe to be true. So, for example, if I express who I truly am in my relationships, they will reject me and take their love back. There's one. If I am not successful at my job, I am not worthy. That's all I can think of for now, and I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But that's a homework for you, is to write down 5 stories you tell yourself. And you have to get curious about this, because these stories are sneaky and you don't even realize they're stories. Okay, so look to relationship, look to career, look to, the relationship you have to yourself, to see what stories are there. And it's rooted in, right, that like child consciousness part of ourselves. So do that, write the 5 stories, and then decide whether or not you want to take them forward with you. And then send a DM about it and let me know, because I would love to hear. And you are supported in this process, astrologically speaking, because of the fact that Mercury conjuncts that south node. It gives you the point of reflection to look at the stories and the narratives you've, assigned yourself to. And then right away, Mercury moves into Virgo and it says, okay, what are we going to do about this? What do we want to do about this? Do we want to do anything about this? Do we have the capacity to do anything about this? So you are very supported here to play out this process. And I think this can be a good process for you as you move out of the South Node Leo eclipse into the Pisces North Node eclipse that we have on Thursday here. Because similarly to the way that the Sun trined with Chiron, Mercury will immediately trine with Chiron as well. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury in the same way that Gemini is, but Virgo is like the more precise expression of Mercury than Gemini will ever be. And so I think that's another reason why I get along with Gemini people, because we are Mercury ruled. But truly, over the next month, while we are in Virgo season, while Mercury is in Virgo, this really is a good time to kind of get planning a little bit, get your stuff together. It's a great time to make a decision on a plan to create new routines that by the time Libra season comes will already be ingrained in you, and you will be able to continue to move through it as you move into the fall season. Coming back to the Chiron Mercury trine here too, when we think about this in the terms of Mercury versus the Sun trining it, it really is the idea of how can we have any sort of like conversation around these wounds of self-worth, how we value ourselves, how we are resourced. How can we have conversations that are just practical? There's no underlying energetic frequency of anger or tension, but it's just having a real, raw, honest conversation with somebody like, hey, here's the facts. Here's this thing. And I guess the argument is there with facts versus feeling, but right, just having that very upfront conversation without being critical, that is the ultimate challenge for you Virgoan people here. But that's kind of the vibe we're getting, because then on Thursday, on the same day as the North Node eclipse, we have the Mercury cazimi, which is when Mercury and the Sun come together in the sky. So it's once again emphasizing new ideas, new insights, new cycles around how we take care of ourselves, maybe in like a holistic, non-traditional way. I think that's worth bringing up too. How we are refining our life, how we are speaking our truth and communicating to the people in our life. Because once we have that North Node in Pisces, which we are going to be feeling build most of the week, we are going to get a little more ethereal and less practical, because it's in Pisces. And Pisces is all about the ether and the unexplainable, whereas Virgo is like, we need to bring it down to earth and you need to explain it to me. And so this North Node in Pisces, like I said at the beginning of this episode, is marking a bit of a closure point. But since it's a full moon, it's illuminating. You have been through this thing for the last 18 months. So you've been really exploring what it means to trust and surrender to the process. What it means to be honest with yourself and not put those rose-colored glasses on, and really be able to trust while being a sober adult. And I don't mean sober as in you're not drinking, but just a sober adult perspective and mindset. You're not lying to yourself. You're not getting big and grand about the things that you want for your life if you just quite aren't there yet on like a material or physical level. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame there. But it really is coming to a point of completion. And with it on the North Node, as a full moon, it's like, hey, here's this direction that you can go. Here it is. Are you prepared to let the old shit go so that you can go this way? It's really as simple as that, I think, in a lot of ways. We don't have to make it too complicated, but it will feel different than the Leo South Node eclipse from 2 weeks ago. And it's important to notice what feels different about that. And I am also going to look up the dates again. I know I've shared these before, but I want to look at them again so that you have a point of reference if you are feeling called to look up this story that has been playing out for you. So I'm just getting up the dates here. Okay, so these are all of the dates. Okay, you ready? So the first one of this eclipse cycle was September 2024, September 17th. In 2025, March 13th, September 7th, and September 21st. And then this year, in 2026, we have March 3rd and August 27th, the one this week. And then we have one more on February 20th here, and that is the final eclipse on the Virgo-Pisces axis. So wherever Virgo and Pisces is in your chart, look at the house, look at planets there, look at the house rulers. That is where you will find insight into what area of your life has been activated by this. So that's all I'm going to say for the eclipse. As always, listen. I would say that Thursday through Saturday is going to be a little weird, a little wonky, because it is in Pisces, like I said. It could be an emotional overwhelm or just like, whoa, there's so much here and I don't know what to do with it. There's so much emotion, there's so much insight, there's so much overwhelm, there's so much energy, and you don't really know what to do with it. So just simply let it be and listen, journal, take some time for yourself, whether that's on Thursday night or Friday into Saturday. I think would be very good to just have a moment to yourself, just see what comes up. That's all we do here. Maybe you need to make a decision. If you don't, you don't, but just really listening here, because the eclipses have a way of working themselves out in our lives in a way that we can't always see in the moment. The last thing that I want to touch on for this week's astrology is on Friday, right after the eclipse, Mercury does come into its exact square with Uranus. So Mercury in Virgo, Uranus in Gemini here. This may enhance potential things coming to light, or emotions or stories that you've told yourself coming in to kind of shake things up, because Uranus ultimately is activated by transit when it's time for you to be made aware of something, or for something to come up that is ultimately going to serve your higher purpose and your higher self and your future. So don't necessarily brush these things off that come up, even though they may sound a little crazy. Uranus and Gemini, there's not really an answer. There's not a straight line. It doesn't quite make sense. These things are coming up for a reason, whatever that may be. So really paying attention here to the stuff that is coming up during this time and making note of it, and being curious about like, oh, well, what is this actually showing me, or what is this actually trying to welcome into my life, or initiate me into here. And with the square between Virgo and Gemini, there is that conflict and that tension around potentially really wanting to get stuff done this week, really wanting to be productive, but not really being able to, being a little bit more scattered and in your brain, and that's okay. We are entering Virgo season, we have this grounded energy, but we are still very much in eclipse season, so there is an unsteadiness, a confusion, and a lack of understanding where we are going type vibe this week. And so the goal is not to have everything figured out, not to have everything planned out, even though Virgo would like a spreadsheet of it, but to really just do what needs to be done day by day to take care of yourself, to get the things done that need to get done, while remembering that those small consistent actions every day create your life and they create your future. So being really aware of where you're trying to overcompensate, because this is not a week to overcompensate with busyness and getting a lot done. That is all I have for you today. Like I said, I am personally loving this week's astrology. I'm really excited for some Virgo energy. It feels very supportive of the second eclipse, of just starting to get that energetic shift. And I feel it personally just by being outside walking my dog and the weather change. It feels really good to be naturally moving into this grounded, earthy, planning kind of vibe where things are just shifting a little bit. That's one thing I love about Western astrology, is that it's not based off of the stars in the sky that Vedic is, but it's based on the zodiac wheel and directly correlated to the seasons. And so it's really representative of how us as humans on Earth move through seasons in the same way that the Earth does. And we are not really separate. The whole concept of Vedic astrology with the stars is a very different philosophy. And I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent on this right now, but it just is coming to me because I am almost done with my Vedic course, and that is like a whole other world, and I'm not nowhere near done with that. But it really is two completely separate philosophies, and that is why I appreciate the Western approach. It's been around for a very long time as well, and I notice that when I am in tune with these transits and the natural cycles and natural energetic shifts that we experience with the planets in relationship to the Earth and the seasons and the sun and the moon, and how when I lean into them and how I trust them and use their insight, their downloads that I get to help guide me through my daily life without attaching to it too much, I really do feel like my life has kind of been created in front of me. I am walking forward with nature, with the natural cycles with me. I don't know if that makes sense, but just wanted to put that out there. But anyways, enough about that. My books are open through mid-September. Feel free to get in there and book your September session. If you're a Virgo, send me a DM. I have a discount code for you, but only if you reach out to me first. I will give that to you for your birthday. And I am still prepping my group program for Libra season, which I'm so excited about, and it's feeling really good. And since this is a pretty intimate group that watches these videos every week, I see you guys and I love you. Thank you for being here. But I'm really excited about this because it's going to be starting the week of Libra season, and Libra really represents this idea of coming back into equal relationship, our relationship to the other outside of ourselves. When we think of its counterpart Aries, it's all about me, myself, and I, and Libra is like we, us, other. How can we work together? And so not only is it going to be during Libra season, it's going to be 6 weeks. We're going to meet probably like once a week, and then we are going to pull in, of course, astrology, but we're going to be doing some breath work. There's going to be a lot of stuff similar to my Capricorn currency that we did back in December, which was so fun, and we'll be coming back for round 2. This program is also going to be happening during Venus retrograde and during Mercury retrograde. So it is literally perfect timing to be reevaluating how you show up in relationship. And this isn't about, the masculine and feminine dynamic and how to be my erotic self. This is a course and a program really about how you can take more responsibility for how you show up in relationship through understanding your chart, through understanding attachment styles, through things like breath work and meditation to create a deeper capacity to hold these truths, as well as conflict that arises in your relationships, all that stuff. So I'm feeling super, super, super excited about it. And I cannot wait to bring it to life. It's been something that's been marinating for a while, and it was not going to come out sooner because it's meant to come out during Libra season and be processed and moved through during something as epic and as, no lie, potentially life-altering as a Venus retrograde. So it's going to be great. Whether you're in a relationship, whether you're getting out of one, whether you're looking for one, or whether you're just avoiding one altogether, it is going to be for you. So stay tuned for more information. As always, I love you guys and stay curious.